The NBA Finals this year felt a bit strange. For the first time in a decade, we finally had a Finals that didn't include either LeBron James or Steph Curry. I mean, LeBron was watching the Finals.
And LeBron James here, no doubt to cheer on one of his closest friends, Chris Paul.
And Steph was boxing Canelo Alvarez.
Oh my!
This isn't a knock on King James or Chef Curry, but definitely a testament to their greatness. While I missed watching these two players, it was both exciting and refreshing to watch other superstars come to the forefront and make names for themselves.
Once again.
And they've gone back to switching with Lopez out.
Paul on the drive, layup is good!
Today, I want to focus on Chris Paul, aka CP3, aka the Point God, because there are so many valuable lessons we can learn from him. It is so inspirational how he has gone through so much adversity, has been doubted by the whole NBA world, and still managed to bounce back despite the odds being stacked against him. But how did Chris Paul get here? Everybody knows who Chris Paul is, but not everyone knows what Chris Paul is about. One of the most famous stories that people don't know about Chris Paul was when he decided to score 61 points in memory of his grandfather. You see, when he was a senior in high school, tragedy struck Chris Paul's family and shook them to the core. Unfortunately for Chris Paul and his family, his grandfather was brutally beaten to death. For the game immediately after his grandfather's death, CP3 decided that he was going to score 1 point for every year of his grandfather's life, which was 61 years. Throughout the game, it seemed like Chris Paul's grandfather was moving the basket on Chris Paul's shots because he just could not miss. The dude really went off. With just a few minutes left in the game, Chris Paul achieved his goal and scored his 61st point. He got fouled on the shot but airballed the free throw because he had scored all the points he needed to score that game.
I walked to the free throw line, the referee gave me the ball and shot an air ball right out of bounds, and my coach took me out.
As you can see, Chris Paul's journey to where he is today started long before he was drafted into the NBA. Here's a fun fact about CP3. Where did this nickname come from? I bet you were thinking he got his nickname because of his initials, CP, and the number 3 he wears on his jersey. Oh no, CP3 was a nickname given to Chris Paul from when he was a child because Chris Paul's father and brother both have the initial CP. So Chris Paul was the third person in his immediate family, and that's what the initial CP is. That's why his family started to call him CP3. Speaking of family, Chris Paul's father, Charles Paul, taught Chris Paul and coached him in basketball and football as a child. Chris Paul attended West Forsyth High School in North Carolina, where he averaged 25 points and 5 assists in his junior year and led his team to the state semifinals. After high school, Chris Paul decided to attend Wake Forest University and continued his stellar play while he was there to lead his team to a #1 ranking in his sophomore season. This was the first time in Wake Forest's history that they ranked #1.
Everybody better that's around him.
Dick, the other thing about Paul, he's almost 2.5 to 1 as far as this.
Speaking of ranks, because he was one of the highest ranking prospects in 2005, Chris Paul decided that he was going to go pro and got drafted that same year by the New Orleans Hornets. During his rookie year, Chris Paul was just 1 vote shy of becoming a unanimous Rookie of the Year in his first NBA season, while leading all rookies in points, steals, assists, and double-doubles. That was ridiculously good for a point guard of his stature.
Oh, what an acrobatic score!
As a rookie, Chris Paul also led the NBA in total steals at 175 while averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds as an undersized point guard, almost 8 assists, and 2 steals per game. Guys, do you realize that these numbers are the same numbers that veteran stars in the league would be putting up? Chris Paul was no joke from day one. The following season, he improved, scoring over 17 points and averaging 9 assists per game. However, due to injuries, he only managed to play 64 games that year. Injuries didn't even slow him down though, because just the very next year in 2008, CP3 was selected as an NBA All-Star for the first time in his career. In addition, after playing in the NBA for just 3 seasons, Chris Paul led the league in 2 categories with 11.6 assists, 2.7 steals per game, while averaging about 21 points. These numbers were good enough to have him named to the All-NBA First Team and All-Defensive Second Team.
Working with us. First points of the quarter for the Mavs. Paul on the run. That's 3 field goals here now.
Chris Paul was basically the Luka Doncic for the New Orleans Hornets. In his first NBA playoff game, he scored 35 points against a serious Dallas team. In his second playoff game, he dished out 17 dimes. You heard me right. This guy dished out 17 assists in his second playoff game.
His shot, it's his third block. I asked Byron Scott, why you didn't block more shots? I should have asked sooner. How about...
What you see from Chris Paul now is nothing compared to the monster he was when he just entered the league. In the final game of that Hornets Maverick series, Chris Paul put up 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 15 assists. I hope you can truly understand what we mean when we call this man point guard. Chris Paul was just incredible, but unfortunately, the New Orleans Hornets weren't going anywhere anytime soon. Chris Paul just couldn't carry all the weight of this franchise on his shoulders. In 2011, Chris Paul was pulled into trade talks with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Houston Rockets. The Hornets, Lakers, and Rockets finalized a deal that would have sent Chris Paul to the Los Angeles Lakers, where he would have been paired with the Black Mamba. If this had happened, we would not be having the storyline we are having right now. At the time, the Los Angeles Lakers had just recently won back-to-back championships, and Kobe Bryant was still the best player on the planet. Had Chris Paul teamed up with Kobe in 2011, we very likely would have seen Chris Paul play in the finals a long time ago. Unfortunately for CP3, the NBA owned the New Orleans Hornets at that time, and their ownership team vetoed the trade. They claimed that they vetoed the trade for basketball reasons, and most people would tell you it's because Chris Paul and Kobe Bryant would have broken the NBA. This may or may not be true, but the reasons for the trade getting vetoed go a lot deeper. The NBA planned to sell the New Orleans Hornets, and it is possible that they could have viewed the trade as one that would diminish the value of the franchise and ultimately diminish the sale value of the team. The trade was also very lopsided and beneficial to the Los Angeles Lakers because they would not have given up any draft picks, and they would have saved millions in luxury taxes that could have been used for other small market teams. Whatever the real reason behind the trade getting vetoed, that changed Chris Paul's career trajectory forever. He was traded instead to the Los Angeles Clippers. Enter Lob City.
Nice defense by the Clippers. It's Paul accelerating in. Down to Jordan.
The Los Angeles Clippers team with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan had the potential to be one of the best teams, even a championship team in my book. Unfortunately for Chris Paul, injuries and other unforeseen factors severely hampered that team, and they struggled to make it out of the Western Conference and never got past the second round. The Lob City era was finally destroyed in an effort to rebuild, and this saw Chris Paul getting traded out of LA to the Houston Rockets. Chris Paul's arrival in Houston was not exactly the buzz that his potential pairing with Kobe Bryant was. Houston had a beard, and many people wondered how a ball-dominant James Harden would fit alongside a ball-dominant Chris Paul. They did, however, seem to figure things out, at least for the most part, and gave Golden State a real run for their money in the 2018 Western Conference Finals. Again, Chris Paul's unfortunate history with injuries came to the forefront, and he tore his hamstring in Game 5 and missed the 2 final games that saw the Golden State Warriors ultimately defeating the Houston Rockets.
Again, look at the play on the other half of the court. This is the most important play of the game.
Chris Paul was not defeated, though. Even after he got traded to the Oklahoma City Thunders in 2019, actually, I believe this became one of the biggest turning points of his career. Chris Paul, as great as he was slowly becoming a player that was known for always getting injured at a time his services were needed the most. So his opportunity in Oakland was very beneficial because he capitalized on the chance to change the narrative of who he was. Instead of being viewed as the always injured player, Chris Paul was now seen as the guy that got a woeful Thunder team into the NBA playoffs in a highly competitive Western Conference, and his veteran leadership and skills were once again highlighted.
That's it. He's going to back out and try and eat. Little in and out dribble, 3 on the way. CP3.
His performance with the Oklahoma City Thunder allowed him to walk onto a pretty good Phoenix Suns team, and we all know the damage that he did in the 2021 NBA playoffs with the Suns. Chris Paul is the embodiment of resilience, persistence, discipline, leadership, fall down 7 times, stand up 8, and never say never. Chris Paul is now 36, and even though he may have lost a step from the dynamo he was when he started in the NBA, he has gained 10 steps mentally. Unfortunately, again, Chris Paul and his Phoenix Suns were 2 wins away from being crowned as champions, but I get the feeling that we haven't seen the last of CP3 yet. If I learned anything from Chris Paul's journey, from the tragedy that sent him on a path to becoming the leader he is today, it's that you always will face difficulties. These are unavoidable. It's how you handle them that will define the person who people remember you as. If you enjoyed Chris Paul's story today, you'll want to watch this next video, where I go over the other Phoenix Suns guard, Devin Booker, and his story. I gotta admit, just like CP3, Booker has had ups and downs in his journey to the NBA, and even after he arrived, the journey has only begun. It's a big video, guys, and I'm sure you'll love it. Click the video, watch it, enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side.